All right, chemistry, let's start looking at our worksheet for section 1. Let's look at both of these multiple choice questions here. Number 1, in a stock system name such as iron 3 sulfate, the Roman numeral tells us how many atoms of iron are in one formula unit. That can't be the case because we would be communicating that information by the formula. This is a name, okay? This is a stock system name, so that's not going to be the case. I know it's not A. B, how many sulfate ions can be attached to the iron atom? Again, we're not talking about how many of that species are present in this formula because this isn't a formula. This is the name. The charge of the iron ion, this is more like it. Okay, this is more like it. Whatever the Roman numeral is listed after, that is going to be the charge of that species. So iron has the Roman numeral listed after it. It has a 3, so that's going to be a +3. Now we're going to learn a little bit more about this stock system next section, so keep your ears on for that. But for now, we are going to say that that Roman numeral represents the charge on that iron ion. 2, changing the subscript of a correctly written chemical formula. A, changes the number of moles represented by the formula. No, because we don't have units here. We're not using a certain unit, which mole is a unit. We're not talking about an amount of the substance. We're talking about the chemical formula, one instance of that compound. So A is not going to be right. Changes the charges of the other ions in the compound. Charges are communicated by superscripts. This question is asking about subscripts. So we're not talking about charges. That lets me know that B is not correct. C, changes the formula so that it no longer represents the compound it previously represented. This is more like it. Okay, so we are going to go with C. Because when we change the subscript in a correctly written chemical formula, don't overlook that the question has told you that it's correct. Okay? If it's a correct chemical formula, changing the subscripts is changing how many of a particular element or ion are in that compound. And if you change the number of, oxygens in a compound, that greatly affects the character of that compound. We've seen already when we talked about nomenclature, the difference between polyatomic ions that end in ITE and ATE. The only difference is the number of oxygens. Everything else is the same. So we actually are changing the species when we change the subscript, again, on an already correctly written chemical formula.